The idea has resurfaced. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in business here. Sanji conquers Haki potential in the future. This is once again in the minds of many One Piece fans because of the latest chapter of One Piece, where the Roger Pirate counterpart of Sanji, Scopper Gaban, it looks like Scopper has done something that not even Luffy could do on Egghead Island, who's a Conqueror's Haki Infusion user, and Scopper himself using Conqueror's Haki Infusion against Luffy seems to have done something to a quote-unquote immortal like Summers, a holy knight, who seem to have the same regen factor as the elders. Honestly, they're kind of like the modern day Logias. Back in the pre-time skip, where you had the Logias, they couldn't really be harmed, like Crocodile or Nell, so certain shenanigans had to take place, like Luffy, blood-soaked, sand punching, it works. Or Luffy, I'm rubber, lightning, it works, things of that sort. But Scopper is doing what not even Luffy could do, and that is do seemingly lasting, meaningful damage to a nigh immortal. Obviously, the question is how, and I think a lot of folks right now, including myself, are leaning towards Conqueror's Haki being the root cause of this, because it ties back to, I think, Kaido's words of Haki transcending all things. It may not be Conqueror's Haki at all, but the fact of the matter is that we did see Gaban slap on some ACOG on the key when he's fighting against Luffy. He's doing this now to Summers, and Summers, he fears. This man has 9 immortality stuff going on. Ulquiorra regen squared, and he fears Gaban. If we assume that this is Conqueror's Haki, and we already saw Gaban use infusion in the past arc, what does that mean about Sanji, who is the Strat crew parallel of Gaban? That's the question. I did see a post on Twitter about, considering all things we're seeing now, what is your best argument for or against Sanji unlocking Conqueror's Haki? I've said before in the past that Sanji doesn't really need Conqueror's Haki infusion. I do think that Sanji will awaken Conqueror's Haki, be able to knock out people, but I don't know about Conqueror's Haki infusion. Because to me, Sanji has already so many insane assets that he does not need infusion to be a future top tier. I.e., for example, Kuzan has no Conqueror's Haki infusion. And despite all of that, and even holding back, Garp could not beat Kuzan, even though Garp had Conqueror's Haki infusion. Look at someone like Kizaru. Kizaru has no Conqueror's Haki infusion. As far as we know, Blackbeard has no Conqueror's Haki. As far as we know, he has no official confirmation of Conqueror's Haki infusion. So there are plenty of ways to be successful in the world of One Piece, be a top tier without Conqueror's Haki infusion. The arguments are there, and there's actually one that I haven't seen people bring up yet, because it was something that was mentioned in passing, but I think it's a very important detail for Sanji's future of the story, particularly when it comes to the final war of the series. Whether it be Laugh Tale related, whether it be across the entire planet against the world government, who knows? But the final war, I think, is going to be where we may see Sanji awaken and utilize Conqueror's Haki / infusion if possible. And one of the things that you see folks mention is the idea of ambition. So when Zoro was fighting against Mihawk way back when, Sanji told Zoro to give up that ambition because he saw how Zoro just couldn't beat Mihawk at all. Sanji himself had given up his dreams for the sake of making sure that Zeph's restaurant was up and running, everything was fine, because he owed Zeph his life. Now later on, of course, Sanji left and he had accepted his ambitions, but the fact that Sanji could even think about giving up that ambition in the first place, that could be a sign of him not being a Conqueror's Haki user in the future. Most people that have Conqueror's Haki do have the ambition of a king. Where you look at Luffy, you look at Kaido, you look at Big Mom, you look at Boa Hancock, Zoro, a lot of them have that kingly ambition, but not all of them. For example, what is Garp's kingly ambition? Garp, as far as we know, is the hero of the Marines because of what happened on God Valley, and he could have been a Marine Admiral for the Admiral, but he decided that he didn't want to be under the direct thumb of the Celestial Dragons and the Elders, so he stayed as the Vice Admiral, and Admirals and Fleet Admirals have to be under the thumb more so of the Elders. But what's his kingly ambition? I'm not really too sure about that one right there. What about, let's say, someone like Katakuri? Katakuri has Conqueror's Haki, but Katakuri, as far as we know, had no real desire to be the leader of the Big Mom Pirates, or even, let's say, try and find the One Piece. His main thing, his main claim, protects his family, essentially, and Brule being the main catalyst of that. We see in its flashback. But we do see how a lot of the crew do rely on Katakuri during Whole Cake Island when Big Mom was going nuts. They confide in Katakuri's leadership, and Katakuri may one day lead that region if Big Mom is genuinely done KO'd out of the picture, which at this point in time, I don't think so, but I digress. We have seen Sanji in various instances lead not only the Straw Hat crew, but various factions. For example, we have seen Sanji lead the Marines themselves in Punk Hazard. The kids are going crazy, they were going AWOL, and then Sanji coordinates the Marines in a strategic way to subdue the children, allowing for Nami and Chopper and Robin to do what they gotta do. Furthermore, we have seen Sanji lead a lot of the chefs to make the Big Mom wedding cake during Whole Cake Island. We see how Sanji took command of the Straw Hat crew, and Sanji was the lead of the other half of the Straw Hats after they deviated in Dressrosa while they're fighting against the Big Mom Pirates, and then they were going to Zoe. Sanji has shown various instances of direct leadership of groups and even the Straw Hats themselves. And even though his dream doesn't tie to being a sort of king or ruler of sorts, he does have the ability to lead, and many other people in the story of One Piece that have Conqueror's Haki are not themselves kings, or they desire some sort of pinnacle role. We know for a fact, well, at least in the dialogues they say it, you have to see it in the manga, Sengoku himself also has Conqueror's Haki. Sengoku is under the thumb of all the elders. He had to abide by whatever they said, whatever they wanted. And his ambitions didn't seem to be ambitions of someone that wanted to be the king of the Marines or the king of the world or lead the Marines of a faction separate from the world government. No, none of that stuff. But he still has Conqueror's Haki. Yamato and Oden are also two examples of people that have Conqueror's Haki and even Fusion, but they themselves never really desired to be kings and rulers. Oden actually shunned that. Oden shunned that, and he wanted to dip. He wanted to dip and see the world. There is the case here where some people that have Conqueror's Haki also associate with the power of love. This is a huge Sanji thing. People like Garp, people like Boa Hancock, and Scopper, they all profess about the power of love. Love is like a hurricane. Like, here comes the fist of love. And of course, Scopper, he's a ladies' man through and through, the power of love. Though you could argue, I guess, that when he did put that Haki on the key, maybe that wasn't Conqueror's Haki. Maybe it was Armor Haki. They didn't say it was at the time Conqueror's Haki, but it does look like Conqueror's Haki for damn sure. So for the time being, let's just say that Scopper does have it, though right now it's not confirmed that he does have it. I digress. There are people that do proclaim the power of love and are also Conqueror's Haki users. Now, as far as we know, Boa Hancock is not an infusion user of Conqueror's Haki, but she still does have it. And again, my main claim here is that Sanji will at least get Conqueror's Haki, the regular Conqueror's Haki at the bare minimum, to be able to knock out people. And the power of love, you could argue that Katakuri really strongly loved his family to the point where he would do so much for his family, which is one of the core reasons why you could argue he's so strong. Katakuri's love for his family, Boa Hancock's love as a hurricane, Garp's fist of love, the love-making master Gaban, that swirl of emotion, that heightened emotion, that extreme emotion of love, you can argue is also, on their part at least, a necessity to attain Conqueror's Haki. Now, there's also the idea you're just born with it. So it doesn't necessarily matter what your ambitions are. Katakuri, Boa Hancock, Yamato, Big Mom, Kaido, Sengoku, Garp, and so on, all of them are just born with Conqueror's Haki. It's in the DNA. And we've never seen someone in Sanji's family so far utilize Conqueror's Haki in any way. However, we don't know how things work out for Sanji, particularly because Sanji is different than the rest of his family. Particularly what Sora did when she took that poison to try and stop what was going on with the children inside of her, Judge's experiments. So we know that all the experiments want to be successes except for Sanji. Because Sanji has the emotions, because Sanji has that sort of intensity to him, unlike the rest of his siblings in many respects, he's able to tap into other powers that they just cannot tap into. Even though what Judge did was physically give them buffs, mentally they are nerfed. Not the IQ missing nerf, but more of the emotional spectrum for them is nerfed. So Sora's sacrifice, his mother's sacrifice, does have a tremendous value. And we don't know Sora's history about where she came from before she met Judge. If there is any Conqueror's Haki in the DNA, it could come from Sora's line, not Judge's line. But there is an important detail about Judge's line that I think ties all the way back to the first point I made about Sanji's leadership. The ambitions of Judge and his ancestors were to find a place called a home. And I quote, "But our dream has already ended. In the wake of a dream of just 66 days, our ancestors were left as wandering ghosts, unable to set foot on their homeland. And now I have disgraced their memory. To think that I entrusted you with the soul of 3 centuries of longing, I despise myself." That's all before Judge gets the right-tay, the thunderclap from Big Mom, the ambitions of Germa itself. I've always been of the mindset that Sanji will one day lead Germa 66. Not because of he actually wants to, but it's more of like a necessity. Come the end of the series, I think that Sanji would probably have to lead Germa 66 in some capacity, and I guess now New Mads, because they'd be an allied force against the onslaught of the world government and the crazy technology that they're gonna have, and so on and so forth. That's what I've been kind of envisioning for a very long time now, because I've seen over the course of the post time skip, Sanji changed the character in terms of what Oda kind of views him, his role within the crew dynamic. In the pre-time skip, Sanji was more of a solo act, stealth missions, very James Bond-like. But in the post-time skip, there is some of that still, but there's also now a lot of that sort of leadership that Sanji has been charged with or doing himself, whether again it be the Marines in Punk Hazard, the chefs on Whole Cake Island, or even the Straw Hat crew for that period of time before Whole Cake Island. Sanji has had these roles of leadership various times for the entirety of the post-time skip. And I think it's Oda's way of trying to prime Sanji to be that very same leader, to be the person that can maybe quench the parched throat of the Germa citizens of today, the folks that don't have a place, a country to call home. Sanji could be the key for finding such a place. All of the blocks, all of the Legos that Oda has been dropping and leaving in certain parts of the story for Sanji's role in the future with his leadership, the power of love, the bloodline alterations that happen because of Sora's sacrifice, Sora's own history, and of course the history of Germa themselves, where they need a leader, they need someone to show them to give them a proper home, all tying back, I think, to Sanji having the courage to leave Baratie and seek his own ambitions. Sanji does have a pathway to achieve Conqueror's Haki. That is how I see the future of Sanji and him achieving Conqueror's Haki in the future of the series. Let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. If you enjoy your boys' video content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell to join the notification squad. I'm gonna catch you guys and gals on the flip side.
See you. Bye bye.